Hey folks, how's it all going? So what we've got here is a blast from the past, literally. The March of 1997, almost 25 years old, a quarter of a century old this magazine was. Where's the time gone? Of Games Master, February, oh sorry, I should say that, March of 1997. No joke, the people who'll be watching this, if you're obviously born, well, anytime after, I should say, from 1997, you'll be thinking to yourself, is this the Twitter and Instagram and TikTok of the generation? Yes, it was. £2.75. The Nintendo 64 hits the streets. Yes, folks, now that retro gaming and everything else to do with retros come back into fashion, hopefully my channel will get more views and more subscribers. Fingers crossed. Thumbs up. So what we've got here, sorted your top 20 N64 questions, answered, revealed all the games you'll be playing this year, reviewed Mario Kart and Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Yeah, this is an old magazine. I mean, you can tell it's a bit knackered. Marcus Hawkins, I believe he went on to edit Practical Photography magazine. I googled that, I must admit. Yes, this is an old magazine, and the UK N64 arrives, otherwise known as the PAL version. Once again, we're reviewing a very old magazine. Edge. I think Edge is still in the publication. I'm not sure about that. It's mostly for like professionals, developers, and that sort of people. I remember when I was coming back from London on the bus one time, I actually purchased Edge magazine, and it was talking about online gaming and that sort of industry and what will happen in the next sort of 10 years, and basically everything that Edge said came true. However, this is not about Edge magazine. This is to do with Games Master magazine. Now loading. You don't see that anymore, especially on PlayStation 5s. Not got one yet. Really random question, but has anybody actually got any of the issues between the late 90s a magazine? If so, please get in touch. Manix TT, first playable version in the office. Not really into racing games. Castlevania X, I'm pretty certain that would be Castlevania Sympathy of the Night. Once again, this is an old magazine. Some of the games were previews, let alone actual reviews. The difference being is obviously if you get a review, you can actually go and buy a copy of it. Cut Price Gaming, there's a wallet. Plenty news for PlayStation owners. Yeah. As you can tell, people who's watching this will be going, that is an old unit. Hexagon 64, never played it, Doom clone I should say, but the main part of this is yet to come. So once again, what happened is in this magazine is that each section had its own dedicated page. So obviously you had PlayStation, obviously you had Saturn, and then obviously you had PC. It's old. The Price of Success, that's NetYasu. Sony's DIY game creating machine has reached us. You never see a NetYasu anywhere. I mean, there's probably people who's got that type of unit somewhere buried. I'd actually like to see it, how easy it would be to program. So yeah, just different news reports regarding various gaming devices at the time. Obviously, at the time, it was now the N64, PlayStation, and Saturn, although the Saturn didn't last for that long. Lava goes foreplay. Yes, well, no jokes there. And it goes, believe the hype. You can't really see it. Oh, actually, I'll bring it closer up to you. There you go, believe the hype. By now, you know exactly what's happening on March the 1st. Enough said. N64. And now we're on the Nintendo Switch, soon to be Nintendo Switch 2. I haven't got a Nintendo Switch. I never got into it. Yeah, Frontline, Independence Day. Not quite out. My goodness, I'm reviewing a magazine that's got Independence Day, the game, which hasn't even been released. The thing is now with computer games in general, they all seem to be like carbon clones of each other. It's either a Call of Duty clone, FIFA clone, or a role-playing game clone. There's no like variety in them. Well, there is, but not in the same sense as it was when the original PlayStation was out. Theme Hospital, never played it. International Superstar Pro, not into football whatsoever, and I certainly wouldn't be playing it on a computer device. Star Trek Generations. Oh, I'd actually like to play this, to be honest. I don't think it actually come out on the PlayStation. If so, please let me know. If it was, that's just... it says, released just in time for when everybody starts forget about the Star Trek First Contact movie. It comes in a game that's Generations, which was released in 1995. Confused yet? It's one of them. They had one of the Enterprise captains involved, and then bumped one of them off. Sums up my videos in one go. Yeah, so basically a 1995 film, and it was a game coming out in 1997. Micro Machines Virtual Free. Oh dear. Again, never got into the Micro Machines games. I was always a big Commander and Conquer fan, I should say, not a film. They've never made a film about Commander and Conquer yet, have they? Oh, I don't know. Yep, racing for you. Ah, yes. Star Trek Generations, the world's first review journey with us to explore microprocessors masterpiece. Oh, yeah. Plus Psychosis F1 on PC. See what your PlayStation's up against. The battle between console gaming and PC gaming has never ended. Although console gaming now is basically a small iteration of minor updates, whereas before, if you bought a PC, 1 year and bought it the next, it was a huge difference. Now it's kind of like this incremental stages of improvements, a bit like the PlayStations. Obviously, you got PlayStation Pro, obviously on the PlayStation 4. Now you've got the PlayStation 5, and then you got the slim model. Fighters Megabits for the Sega Saturn. I've got a question for you, and this is something that's been bugging me. People who collect video games, do you ever worry about CD rot on the Sega Saturn? I was watching a YouTuber, and they were saying that their collection of Saturn software has actually been eroded by CD rot. I'm not sure whether or not that's something is happening quite across the board or not. I know cartridges, on the other hand, they seem to be pretty robust. Fighters Megamix, like I said, never had the Saturn, so I couldn't really tell you too much about it. But it did get a 95 review, 93 for graphics, 85 for sound, gameplay 95, and then lifespan 95. So yeah, there's probably some fanboys out there going, that's the best game ever. Mario Kart 64. So basically, I did get an N64. I had about 3 or 4 over the time. I never really enjoyed the Mario Kart series off the N64. I liked the Nintendo DS and the 3DS versions of Mario Kart, but I never really liked the N64 versions. I don't know what it was about the N64, but the actual analog stick, it kind of didn't really agree with me. I was much more used to the dual shock analog control of yesteryear. I'm not going to go into the main review, but needless to say, it's quite detailed. But it received a 93 review. However, Mario Kart has been long lasting. I mean, they're still making tracks, well, using tracks, I should say, in the latest Mario Kart. Blood Omen, Legacy of Kanan. Again, never played this game, don't know anything about it, so I'll just skedaddle on. Monster Trucks. Again, what you generally find out during the late 90s is that when there was going to be a new release of hardware, which, may I add, is something that happened occasionally, whereas now there's always seems to be an update of an update of an update, whereas years ago it's like you had the console and then that was it. PlayStation X and PlayStation 1 was probably the exception to the rule. Obviously by that point Sega Saturn was no more. Turok Dinosaur Hunter, played it occasionally. It was okay, I guess. It received a 91 overall score, which was quite high back then. I mean, when they say about graphics being 93, you talk about N64 graphics compared to them now. Yeah. Die Hard Arcade on the Sega Saturn, it only received 77. The thing is with the Die Hard games is that there was like running around with robots with rocket launchers. So what's that all about? But yeah, any arcade type units from the Sega was always morphed into a game, whether or not it was any good or not. The 64 fan. Saturday, the March the 1st, let the games begin. So yes, folks, this is what happens when you buy a brand new games console in the late 90s. And the best thing about it, imagine if you had a mint condition Nintendo 64 now, how much it would cost. Basically, with the N64, I think it would have done a lot more popular if it would have been like more of a GameCube type console, where it would have had CDs rather than cartridges. I think generally that it did suffer quite a lot, especially with obviously Final Fantasy VII not coming out on the N64. If it would have been a CD-based system, it would have done a lot better. Although I have heard the AI was slightly better over than the PlayStation. But that's the reason why I've reviewed this magazine. It's because of the N64 disc drive. I've never seen one in person, although I have seen them on eBay occasionally. When I got 5 minutes free, I often have a look and see how much they're going for. They're going for like $1,250 or some daft amount, plus tax and everything else, mainly in Japan. So yeah, the magazine's that old that it still comes on the Zelda 64 rather than Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And obviously you got Wave Race, Yoshi Island, Star Fox, otherwise known as Lilac Wars, etc, etc, etc. Now, ironically, when I read this magazine first, they was talking about GoldenEye coming in a little bit too late. Although, yeah, it does. It says GoldenEye 007 providing to be a lot more than versatile than your regular Doom imitations. Perhaps a bit late though. However, the GoldenEye actually was one of the best games on the N64 and one of the best 3D person shooters, which now you can actually get on the Nintendo Switch and play multiplayer. The only thing is that it's like everything else to do with time. Like, people sort of moved on from the game, although there's probably a group of hardcore fanboys out there thinking, yes, GoldenEye on the N64, money, money, money. I'll pay for it and relive my youth. Dark Forces on the PlayStation, never really got into it. City of Lost Children, never got into that one either. Virtual Pool, pool and snooker type games, they've all kind of like been the same. I mean, you've basically got a table in which you shoot pool on. Quite good mobile games, although I used to play a lot on the Yahoo online Yahoo Pool. I've spent too much time on that, I really have. Right, Lost Vikings 2 on the Super Nintendo. Yes, folks, it still even was reviewing, and obviously it was still bringing out Super Nintendo Entertainment software. Although this is really much at the tail end of the system's lifespan. Saying that, yesterday I did actually got my Super Nintendo Mini Classic out, and I played a little bit of Mario Kart, a little bit of Star Fox, and a little bit of Street Fighter. Can't say I was very good at it though. It's probably because of the controllers. I'm so used to analog controllers. But yeah, NBA Hang Time, Tilt. I can't remember that one. Oh, Pinball. You can tell how old it's actually got a review, well, a guide to partially Tomb Raider, which should come in handy because they are remastered in 1, 2 and 3, but not 4. Why didn't they do 4 as a remaster? However, that might come in handy, even though there's loads of guides on them on YouTube. As you can tell, they liked playing Tomb Raider quite a lot, and back then games guides like this was an absolute sent by the gaming gods, because there was no YouTube, and obviously people wasn't online as much as they were. Just bought a Saturn, yeah, with an N64 coming out. No thanks, kids. Virtual Fighter 3 smashed. Very nice game, although I'm not a big fan of fighting games. Although I do like a bit of Tekken now and again. And I think this is coming to the end. Oh yes, Cheaps and Tips Zone. So you've got Commander and Conquer, and then you got Commander and Conquer. I think one of them was... I did see a Sega Saturn review of Commander and Conquer in my local CNX store, which is quite surprising considering that it was in very good condition. Like, the sleeve was almost perfect. Worms on the Saturn, games guys. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. I got into Mortal Kombat 2 for the Super Nintendo, but I can't say I got into 3. But yeah... Donkey Kong Country 3. Bit of a weird story. So I picked up a copy. It was like gifted to one of the family relatives, and I lent it, and they seemed to have forgotten about it. And I actually played it, and I got like completion, and I mean it was like 111%. It's like I got all the banana birds, and I got all the secret levels. I did everything right. Bloody tough game, enjoyable. I did 1. I did 3, but I never got into number 2, which is surprising because I enjoyed number 1 quite a lot. Even though now on TikTok and sometimes YouTube, you keep getting the Donkey Kong Country 2 song keep playing for nostalgic videos, which is ironic considering people still relive their pasts through media. Anyway, so you've got like a little letter section. You don't get this in gaming magazines no more because you don't really get many gaming magazines. Next month in Games Master, the greatest tips book in the world ever, number 2. I missed out on number 1. Oh well. And there you go. Pac-Man for you. She's all mouth on the Super Nintendo. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my little babble about this Game Master magazine. It's a very old magazine. I think I've got maybe 2 or 3 other issues, but they're from the late 90s. I think probably like 1999. Although I do sometimes go around like antique shops and antique fairs to see if I can find any old magazines. Although they're coming on very short terms now. But yeah, apart from the cover being a bit knackered, I hope you've enjoyed this nostalgic view of the past and how things were. And it's even got the original Games Master logo, which makes me happy. Thank you very much for watching. And again, if you've not already, please subscribe. It helps with the channel. See you soon.